So people ask me all the time, they say, Beach, how did you end up writing books and speaking and things like that? So thought I'd tell you a little bit about my backstory. When I decided I wasn't going to go to college anymore, I got into the car business. I stayed there for a little bit of time and I realized, you know what? They don't always tell the truth in the car business. And that kind of hurt my soul. And I said, that's not really me. And then after that, I got into the clothing business and I worked at one of the big clothing stores in town and I learned about the clothing business. And then I convinced my dad to get into the business with me. And so my dad and my mom and I opened up a clothing store, a men's and ladies traditional clothing store in Roswell, Georgia. And we ran that store for about 7 or 8 years. And I loved the business, but I realized it was really hard to make money in that business. And eventually at the end of that, we decided to close it up. And I went into the going out of business. And when I did that, I made more money in the clothing business in the 6 months that I went out of business than I had the previous 7 years. And then I started going around the country doing going out of business sales for other people in the retail business. And I learned a lot doing that. I learned a lot about retail and how you price stuff and how you buy stuff. Well, I got tired of the clothing business and a friend of mine and I got into the recycling and garbage business. We started out picking up recycling and we were one of the first people in our county to pick up recycling at the curb. And then that moved us into picking up garbage business. And that's when I learned about running routes and going door to door and knocking on people's door and asking for their business. And we did that business for a while and we started picking up all this recycling and we'd take it to the recycling place to sell it. And we realized they really weren't going to pay us anything for it. We went, it's not really a good thing. So we ended up selling the recycling and garbage business. After that, I got into the plantation shutter business, interior plantation shutters, where we would go to people's houses and we would measure their windows and we would manufacture plantation shutters. My best friend Keith had the business and I helped him expand that business throughout the Southeast. We'd go open up little locations, we'd advertise in local newspapers, and that business really thrived until he eventually sold that business. Well, while I was in that business, Mary and I got married and I had to go buy my first house. And a friend of mine said, go see this guy at the mortgage company. And I went down to see the mortgage guy to get my first house. And while I was there, he said, hey man, you ought to get in the mortgage business. And I said, I don't know, y'all wear a coat and tie. I don't really want to do that. I used to do that in my clothing business. I'm done with the coat and tie thing. He goes, oh, well, you don't have to wear a coat and tie. You just got to, at least dress up. You can't come in your flip-flops. And so anyway, I said, no, I'm not interested in the mortgage business. The funny thing was the next day, a friend of mine had lost his job and he called me and he said, man, you know anybody hiring? I said, go talk to this mortgage guy. He tried to hire me. Sure enough, he hired my friend. A couple of months later, my friend called me, goes, man, this is awesome. I'm making a lot of money. And so for the first time in my life, I took a job because of the money that they were making, not because it was something I was passionate about. And I got into the mortgage business and it was a bad time when I got in, and it took me months before it started kicking in. But I realized that, I had to get out and call on real estate agents and builders and people like that. And eventually I got the mortgage business going. And I took all of those ideas that I'd learned in those previous businesses and started applying them to the mortgage business. And nobody was doing that. And I realized then that a lot of the ideas that you learn from other businesses, that there may not be doing that in your business. It gives you an opportunity to bring new ideas, new concepts, and really maybe be the guy in your business. And so we did that in the mortgage business, and my mortgage business flourished. And I've been doing it for about 30 years. But one time during that phase, there was a law that was being enacted, and a lot of the guys that were in the mortgage business that worked for banks were feeling like that the banks weren't going to be able to really pay them and do what they needed to do. So all of a sudden, in about a 2-month period, I went from a small mortgage broker to a very large mortgage brokerage. I had a lot of guys come into my mortgage company. And I realized that I didn't have sales meetings and stuff. And I also realized that a lot of these guys coming from banks, they were used to radio and TV and lot more standard advertising practices. And my mortgage business was built solely on referrals. It was about relationships. So I started writing down all the things that I needed to talk to them about for sales meetings to explain to them how they could build a referral business. One time I was the president of Mortgage Brokers Association of Georgia, and so we were having a convention, and I showed what I'd written down to a couple of other mortgage brokers. I said, what do you think about these ideas and these concepts? And they went, man, that's awesome. We've never seen that. We've never thought about that. We never knew that you were doing that, Beach. And they said, man, you need to write a book. So I played around with that idea, and then in 2009, we had a major correction, a crash, really a depression for a lot of us in real estate. And so it gave me the time to sit down and write my first book. And I wrote my first book in 2009. And then because business was so slow, I started talking to people about coming and speaking to their companies and their organizations. And so my speaking business kind of evolved, and it was a good thing because I needed that speaking business at the time because the mortgage business was off 90%. So it helped me in my income, and I learned a lot about the speaking business. And so since that time, I've written 2 more books. I wrote a book called What's Your Buzz? And What's Your Buzz is about what are people saying about you in the community. I realized that if somebody's talking about you, they may like you, but they don't like your company, or there might be a lot of good buzz about you. There might be some bad buzz about you, but do you know what the buzz is? And I think it's important if people are going to refer you, you need to have good buzz. And then I wrote my 3rd book about what's the tapes you play in your head. What I realized was that highly successful people are playing a more positive tape than others in their head. It's unbelievable if you really start interviewing and having conversation with highly successful people, you'll realize that their conversation that they're having with themselves is a different conversation than most people. And so I wrote that book. That was my 3rd book. And so now I'm in the process of writing my 4th book, and I call it my marketing ideas book. It's basically a look back on some of the ideas that I taught these salespeople, and over the years I've advanced that, I've researched it, I've stole ideas from other people. So these aren't all my ideas, they're my take on these ideas. And so over the next couple of months, we're going to work through that, and the book will be coming out soon, and I hope you'll buy a copy of it. But I'm going to each week talk about a different marketing idea, something that you can implement to help you grow your business. This book is going to be great for people that are in small businesses and in local communities. It's going to be great for people that are in franchise businesses. If you own a franchise, you still own a franchise in that community. How can you be the go-to guy for what it is you do in your community? It's going to be a great book for people that are in professional services. If you're in insurance, financial advisor, banking, mortgage, real estate, those kind of industries where you're calling on the community and you need the community to refer you business, that's what this book's about. And that's what these next couple of months are going to be about, is us bringing those ideas to you, giving you a chance to explore those ideas, work those ideas with me, give me some information on how you might do it a little bit different. Maybe you've got an idea that I haven't considered. I'd love to have that idea. So go with us over the next couple of months, and I hope you enjoy a lot of these marketing ideas, and I'd love to have your feedback on it. So if you'd like to talk to me, I'd like to talk to you, and if you need somebody to come speak at one of your next events, or if you would like to talk to me about a marketing idea that's worked for you, or a marketing idea I need to consider to put in the book or talk to other people about, I'd love to hear from you. So just go to my link tree. My email's there, my cell phone number's there. I'm accessible. Give me an email or give me a call, and I can't wait to talk to you.